Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarbati, affectionately known as Coach. And we've got the two-game semifinal action here, Coach, for the Olympics. We're down to the final four. I know you're traveling, so thanks for jumping in here with us. Coming off a nice slate where you got your man Rubio really went off and helped your FanDuel hybrid lineup cash.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And it's great to be here. Up in very cool, it's 58 degrees out. So I'm like in heaven right now this morning up in Pennsylvania after the 100 triple digits we've had consistently in Texas. So it's wonderful to be up here. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was fired up for Rubio. I just felt his usage and everything would be there just from watching. Again, more games we see, the better off it feels when we're figuring this out. And he stepped up and, he wasn't perfect, but he got a lot of usage and got the numbers and got our members there. So we were happy and we want to build on that. And we're still fishing for that optimal, Andrew. So maybe today's the day.
I've got a couple builds here today, Coach, that I'm really fired up about on Draftkings and FanDuel. So
Nice.
Let's get into it.
Sure.
It's going to be a lot of fun here, starting at 12:15 a.m. Eastern with Australia and U.S. And to give a quick overview here, U.S. favored by 12. Total here has gone up to 181.
Yeah.
And numbers a little bit different in that second game, total of 174. Slovenia favored by 2.5 over France. So that one is projected to be potentially closer, potentially lower scoring. But we've got a lot of stars in this first game to break down. So let me start with the Australian side here. 4-0 coming off that huge win over Argentina. Another thing you predicted.
How about that beating? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Argentina just disappeared in the fourth quarter there.
They did not impress me. I thought Australia would drill them, but 40? That was pretty wild.
That was. So let's talk about this Australian team here. We've got Paddy Mills as the volume shooter, the Rubio of Australia, if you will, so far in these Olympics. We've got should we call them the Twin Towers of Landau and Kay?
Hey,
they have taken over as Baines is out with an injury. And those two together were in the optimal lineup on DraftKings last time.
Yeah.
Really nice prices, mid-tier, getting 25 to 27 minutes. And I think they're both playable. But looking at the matchups, Coach, here, this is going to change a little bit for me because if the U.S. goes with the starting lineup they've been using, where you've got these three ultra-quick and talented scoring guards of Lillard, Drew Holiday, and Booker. And then you've got Bam at center, of course, and then the unicorn KD. I just don't think that the lineup that Australia's been using is going to work because I just don't know who's going to guard Durant. And I don't think I don't know if Kay can hang with these matchups. He's been very solid, offensively and picking up rebounds. So he's been awesome in terms of fantasy. But, if I'm Australia, I'm going to put Thibault in the starting lineup for this matchup because he's their best defender, and they need him to balance out this defensive attack. I just don't think the matchups work very well if you've got Kay and Landau out there. So, that's the big question mark for me is what starting lineup does Australia use? Either way, I do think Landau will be out there, so he's my favorite play out of the bigs for Australia. And at 4,900, I think he's a terrific price. So he's one of my favorite plays. Mills on the DraftKings slate, I'm not looking to pay 10-6 for him. I like some of these other builds with like Durant. If you want Luka, then you can't go to Mills and be very happy about the rest of your lineup. So Mills is going to miss out for me on the DraftKings slate just because of his price. Ingles a little pricey for me on the two-game slate. Dellavedova, punt play at 3,900. And then, with that bench, we'll see about Thibault, whether he comes off the bench or starts. At 7,000, I do think he's playable. Exum, potential punt play, 4,800. And then Sobey got 9 minutes as a bare minimum price, $3,000 point guard. But, he got some of that run there when it was a blowout. So I don't think you can count on him.
No.
So bottom line is I think that US is going to win easily here. But I do want exposure with Landau because of that great price, and possibly Thibault. Those are my two favorite plays on the Australian side. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced that this game is going to be a win easy for USA at all. I really don't. I mean, I thought the Americans would struggle a little bit against Spain, win by 10 or 15, and they did. I mean, it was somewhat easy, but not just a piece of cake. It wasn't pull away and not sweat it. But I think they're going to find a similar matchup here with Australia. I mean, let's face it, Australia has the mental edge on us right now. I mean, the last two times we played them, they beat us. So, that's a concern for sure, just from a confidence standpoint. And, it's become, and it's hard to believe, we have all these superstar max player, in all multi-all-star, multi-NBA first team, second team players. And it's like we're completely dependent on Durant pretty much to carry us, through. And so, I always have felt in previous Olympics and, FIBA World Cups and everything else that the strength of the American team was consistency throughout the roster. And even in the days, I mean, I could go talk for an hour here, but I mean, even the days where Kobe was a dominant player, or, LeBron was a dominant player, or even back to when it was Jordan and Bird and Magic, none of those guys just dominated play. Like the games we've won, and this last one, exactly it. It's been the Durant show and everybody else chipping in. So it's a very unusual situation. And what it does, I think, is it allows Australia to hone in on really defending Durant well. And I think Durant's going to see doubles. I think you're going to see some situations where they just, face guard him and not help with if it's Thibault or whoever's going to come in there and play him. So I'm a little concerned on that side. So that being said, Australia's shortened their bench a little as they've gotten closer in this tournament. And the guys that I think are going to get, I mean, I'm talking 30 minutes here. And I know that they haven't been. They're averaging more, upper 20s. But I think Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, and I'm going to count not 30 minutes for these guys, but Thibault and Exum, upper 20s. And then, of course, Landell and Hay, as you mentioned. That small group, I think, is going to be, do everything for Australia. So I like Australia here. I like that this is a higher scoring game. I want to have at least two Australians on my build, maybe three. And again, that's based on, I think they stay in the game close enough and their bench is shortened. And I think that they'll do well. So I actually have a build, Andrew, and you're not going to believe this. And I can do it now because I don't have Dirk over my shoulder yelling at me. But I think I may fade Luka and go the Patty Mills route. I know that's a stunner to our listeners, but I just think that it fits better here. So I'm really high on Mills. Ingles is just a little too high. He hasn't had any real ceiling games. But, I think Thibault is a sneaky play at a fair price. The fact they need his defense, I think you're going to see him get 30 minutes in this game. I love that, and I've done it, and it's helped. Exum as a cheap play to add in, I think really works. And Landell's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. I think he's, with Baines not playing now, I don't think he'll play any more games with the injury. And Landell's their number one guy. Now, I had Landell and Kay and Rubio. That's why I cashed. Those three guys were terrific. And, this last go around. Now, does Kay get quite as much because of, I agree with what you said. They can't really go real big because the Americans are going so small. So depending on what defense and how how they roll it out there, I think K may just lose a few minutes, enough that I like Landale a little bit better. So I can see Andrew coming out of this game with Patty and Landale, and then one of the more inexpensive, not mid-level to low-ranged in a Thibault or an Exum or a K.
All right, well, let's turn to the U.S. side here. And they did struggle in that first half against Spain, but then got it going in the second half, started making more of their shots. Their defense picked it up. And like you said, KD really led the way, took 17 shots, got the most minutes. So are you going to include him in your lineup? And what are your thoughts on the rest of the U.S. squad?
It comes to a point really here where I think you got to play Durant. I mean, we're in single elimination. He's 1,000,000% been the go-to guy, just flat out. And I know he's expensive here, but I think he gets those minutes, and I believe the game stays close enough that he gets big minutes. I do not think Americans handle this easily. Australians scrappy as all get out, so it's not going to be easy for him, but he is the key player, and he's on the floor. He's going to get 15 to 20 shots, like it looks as though it's trending. He's phenomenal from the foul line. He's always going to get you some of the periphery. He had 2 steals and a block just this last game. He's always going to get some rebounds and some assists. Everything runs through Durant. I mean, he is the focal point of this team. So I think he's a great play. I think, you'll see a lot of people go to Luka, and deservedly so. But my little different twist this week is going to be, or this game, set of games, is I like the Durant-Patty Mills head-to-head, not guarding each other, but the duel in this game. I think Durant steps up again. If he doesn't, if Durant has a bad game or they defend him in a different way, then we could be in trouble. So he's got to have a good game. After that, though, Andrew, it's the same complaint I've had since the beginning of the Olympics. The USA guys are overpriced. And, can you afford to spend the money on some of these guys for 17 minutes or 18 minutes of play? Then you got to go way down low on, some of the bench guys. So, I don't trust anybody else on the team. I thought Lillard would be the other guy I trusted throughout this competition, but he's sort of sunk down to what everybody else is doing now. It's, you're getting really good contributions from Drew and Bam and Booker and Middleton, and I could keep going. So that's my point, is those guys are all, any single one of them could have what I think will be the second best game for the U.S. So it's going to be real simple for me. I'm going to come out of this game with 3 Australians and KD.
Yeah, KD's locked in for me as well. Again, just don't think they have a good matchup for him. And they could double him, but then they're in major trouble because everybody else is a major threat. And when this team goes 9 deep like they did against Spain, you're talking about 4 all-stars coming off the bench. Levine, Middleton, Tatum, Draymond. So if they're playing hard on both ends, they are going to be really difficult to handle. And I think they saw their mortality, if you will, against Spain. And if they hadn't already gotten their wake-up call from the loss to France, I think they have it. And like you said, Australia has beaten them. So I think they come out ready to go. And it just is a matter of price here. If the prices were more reasonable, I'd want to have more of these guys. But pretty balanced minutes and ultra-high prices lead me to really only considering Booker and Bam. The guys who are in the $6,000 range on DraftKings. That's reasonable. You can make those guys fit. So those would be my next options only because of price on DraftKings. Different story on FanDuel where you still pay up for a Lillard and company. And then with the bench, Tatum has been a little bit more involved than Middleton. Levine has been pretty good throughout, but those guys are much more expensive than Middleton. So again, on the main slate,
flat out. Flat out.
So on the main slate, I think we fade the U.S. bench, unless you want to go with Draymond in a GPP. He's 6,500 and basically split minutes with Bam overall. They weren't always subbing directly for each other, but that's how it worked out. So basically, if you're going to get 20 plus minutes and you're in the $6,000 range for the US, I think you're in play.
I'm with you.
All right, Coach. Before we get to the second game, let's just invite folks to join us if they would like as members. We got some great lineups that we're brewing up here. So if you join today at dfscoachtalk.com, we will get you into our Discord this afternoon. And with any membership that you have with us, you get all of our sports. So you get our baseball lineups tonight and golf lineups tonight. This is Wednesday, after all. So we'll have golf podcast later today. We'll have golf lineups as well. So jump in at dfscoachtalk.com, and then we will invite you into our Discord with an email. All right, Coach. Game 2, we've got Slovenia and France. Your Luka and company, 4-0 so far. Nice, easy 24-point win over Germany, but only the 2.5-point favorites against France.
Yeah.
So let me start on the Slovenian side. And Luka, has been their MVP, but 13-4. He's in that price range now that you predicted. And let's just compare him to Zoran Dragic for a minute. In the last game, Luka had 50.5 fantasy points. Dragic had 48.5. And he's $6,000 more than Dragic.
Wow.
So, I know that was more of a ceiling game for Dragic.
Yeah.
He was 5 for 7 on threes. But at 7,300, for a guy who got 29 minutes, I would rather pay that than pay 13-4 for Luka on this slate because I want to get Durant out there.
Right.
So, that's my approach. I agree with you on the cash lineup. I want to fade Luka here. I don't want to, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
Since that first ceiling game where he scored almost 50 actual points, he's been right around 45 to 50 fantasy points because teams are holding him under 20 shots. They're making him give it up, and he's obviously a willing passer, and he's got some weapons around him. So he'll continue to do that if that's what the defense dictates, and it's been working for Slovenia. So why mess with it? So I like Dragic there. You could look at Blažić, 6,100 price discount. Not much else besides scoring, so not my favorite play. And Prepelic in that same group at shooting guard, 6,800. But a lot fewer minutes and shots than Dragic, so I don't like him as much, but he is a scorer. And then, looking at the rest of Slovenia, Toby certainly in play at 8,800, though, a little pricey. He's got to deal with Gobert. He does get big minutes. He got 33 minutes, another double-double. So, he's the next guy I would want to play if I could fit him.
Yeah.
Chanchar took a step back last game, and then the rest of the bench, not really interested in. Dimec just gets a few minutes when Toby isn't out there. Muric, 17 minutes, only took one shot. Nikolic, 12 minutes, only took one shot. So I think we zero in on Luka, in a GPP potentially, but in the cash lineup, I'm looking at Dragic. Toby is a wild card if you can afford him. And, just touching on this matchup as a whole, I'm looking at this as a real battle, likely close game, just like Vegas is predicting. So I'd like to get Dragic for those big minutes that I'm projecting for him.
I like it. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, when we did the first podcast and Luka was 10-8, we just plug and play 100%, don't even think twice. It's just over. And then, we talked about when his price goes up, then you got to start looking at it. Well, it goes from 10-8 to 13-4 now, which really handcuffs you. So, let's face it, he's the best player in the Olympics. He and Durant, I guess you could say both of them. But overall, I think Luke has been, if you had to name an MVP at this point, not knowing who's going to win it, I think it's him because he just wills his team to victory, whether he scored 48 or had 14 rebounds or, 14 assists, he gets it done. But what teams are doing now, and you have to, is you have to, do some of the things they're seeing, box and one, double the ball, make them give it up, get that pick where they jump the double off the pick. There's just a lot of things. And, he only got 7 shots last game. 7. And, there's a lot of
7 threes.
Or I'm sorry, 7.
Yeah, 8
right,
of 18, but under 20.
Yeah, that's what I misstated that. But 7 threes, I think he took 5 threes in the first quarter of the game before that. So they're getting out and him. He's having to settle for a few threes. He's having a little bit tougher time getting those open shots. Now, he's a phenomenal play. I'm going to play a second lineup with him in it, just in case he does something silly like 40 points and 15 rebounds, 10 assists or something. But I don't think here's the reason why this is the time that I am going to fade him. France, in my opinion, has the best defense in the Olympics. I think the French team defensively, we saw that in that very first game against the USA. They held us to like some ridiculous field goal percentage, like 30% or something. But they defend, they team defend. They're a really good team, in figuring out schemes. Their coach is good. So just on the price alone, not because I think he's going to get shut down, I think it makes the rest of your roster so much better by not having Doncic price salary in there. So for me, the guys I like, Prepelic has to be looked at. He's finished every game on the floor. So even though he's only getting 25, 28 minutes here and there, sometimes a little less, he's finishing. And that's key because in this, what I agree will be a tight game, I think he gets a little additional run. Toby's hard to deny here, but it is Rudy Gobert. So Toby's gotten several, where you're allowed to offensive goaltend and push the ball through and all that stuff. Not going to be quite as easy against Rudy. So, Toby's expensive. It makes sense because all the double-doubles, but probably not going to use that as my other decent spend up just because of Rudy. I think you got to look at Blažić because, again, if they're going to win this game, he's going to have to step up. And Dragic, I agree with you. I don't think they priced him up enough for his increased role. And he started out good. I mean, if you remember that first podcast, I didn't recommend him at all because I remember the Zoran from 5 years ago in the Olympics, and he was not nearly as good as his brother Goran. But, man, he has improved. I think Zoran could make the NBA and be a backup, guard for somebody. But his improvement is there and his role is there. And once Luka, and I, watching Luka so much here in Dallas, which I'm not in Dallas right now, but I'm used to be, when he finds some guys he trusts, like with the Mavs, he trusts Hardaway, he's going to find Hardaway for threes and open shots. And then he's going to have a big man that he goes to. So right now, you can see Luka's goal is I'm going to find Zoran, I'm going to find Toby, and then if those two are covered, I'm getting into Prepelic. So those are the key guys. Now, the guy I'm going to use in this game, though, as another player that I just love the matchup, he's going to be the forgotten guy. He had a little bit less game last time, but I'm telling you right now, he's going to get a ton of minutes. I'm saying 30 plus because he's a terrific defender. He makes the key shot, and he's playing with confidence, and that's Chanchar. I think he is a terrific play at his price, and I think he's going to have, be a difference maker here. I don't know about break the slate kind of guy, but a guy that you're going to need in that optimal lineup. So, yeah, I love this game. I love that it's going to be tight, and you just get all these opportunities, by not rostering Luka. And so Zoran's going to make it, Chanchar, and possibly even a third guy, maybe a Prepelic or Blažić.
All right, let's talk about the French side. If they are going to keep it close and potentially win, I mean, they're also 4-0 here. What are your thoughts over there?
Well, I would assume that the majority of ownership for France will go to Fournier again, but I'm not going there. I know he took a million shots again. He took 18 shots. He's getting a ton of shots up without question. But I also think that the Croatian team hustles on defense. They have a couple of real scrappers. And I think they're going to make Fournier give the ball up a little bit more. So if you know from when he went to Boston this year, if he's not really getting the ball, he's not I create my own shots kind of guy. So if the plays aren't running for him or they're face guarding or doubling him, I think his shot attempts go down. So if he goes down to like maybe he takes 10 or 12 shots, he's not a monster periphery guy. He's not going to get you a bunch of anything else, enough to get you by. And he's been in a lot of the optimals in this event. But Slovenia's defense is underrated. I think Fournier's price is a little too high, but I do really like some of the other French players. I think you can really look at Batum here. He's getting monster minutes. He's hitting the glass. I don't know if because he played the 5 for them in the playoffs a little bit, all of a sudden he thinks he's a center, but he's hitting the glass like a center, And, his rebounds, he's going to score the ball. He got 12 shots up. He's my favorite player for France. I think he's safe. I think he's going to do fine. The question is, with my reshuffled lineup, can the third big wheel after Durant and Patty be Rudy Gobert? I think it's possible, but I got to work on it some more because I think Rudy's a good play here. I really do. 22 points. I know that's, you're not going to get him scoring over 20 very often at all. But I'll tell you what, Toby is a really fine basketball player. I think he also could get a cup of coffee in the league, but I don't know if he can really, interior defend Gobert. He's fast. He can jump. He's fairly athletic, although his jumper is that Bill Cartwright set shot 4 feet in front of him, ugly shot. But defensively, I don't know. I think Gobert has his way a bit with Toby inside. And only 9 rebounds this last game. It just smells like a 15 rebound game for Gobert. And if he goes what I think he'll do, like 14 and 15, I think he's an important element to have on the team. So, it's all about Batum, Gobert for me. You can also find a little bit of value, if you want to take a shot at a DeColo or Hurdle or even TLC, but there's risk there. Those are more GPP plays. So I will have some players here, but not going to stack them up and not going to spend up for Fournier.
If Fournier, I guess we differ on that a little bit. He's in play for me. I mean, 8,200 in general for Fournier on a regular NBA slate is overpriced, and he's still not getting a lot of peripheral stats. That's just the game he has. He's a scorer.
Right. Yeah.
So it's still overpriced, but if you fade Luka, you can definitely go there, and he's definitely in the mix for me. I mean, you can shift it around and potentially go with Gobert or Toby in that $8,000 range instead. So
right.
I do see that build also, but I think I'll go with him probably in my first build. You mentioned the monster minutes for Batum. He had 38 of 40 minutes. Fournier also had 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So, if they're going to go down here, they're going to go down swinging with those guys out there for every minute that they can muster up. So Fournier definitely in play, but Batum, in terms of his price, just a phenomenal play. He broke the slate last time out with 49 fantasy points, and he's still only 5,600. So even if he regresses almost in half, he's still a solid play.
Yeah, you can't pass him. He's the plug and play guy on the slate.
Absolutely. And 14 rebounds, we don't predict that will happen again, of course. And it was, like you said, he has that mentality now of being more of a big and hitting the glass. And, here's the thing, though, that I think could change a little bit. If you think about who's going to guard Luka, they could start with DeColo, who has decent size for a guard. But I think Batum could spend some time on him as well. And if he does, then he's going to be away from the basket more, following Luka around. And Batum got a lot of those rebounds in the last game because he was closer to the basket. He was on the block, guarding guys like Fontecchio, or Melli or Polonara, or he was in the corner on the baseline. He was still the closest to the rim. So I think there's a chance he'll be guarding Luka. He'll be more on the perimeter. And he won't get as many defensive rebounds. Maybe Gobert will get an uptick there. But again, even if he regresses a bunch at 5,600, I still think you have to have him. So Gobert, like I said, playable. Yabusele is interesting. He's 3,400. And Coach, I don't think I've ever seen this before. On DraftKings, in a 4-game slate, there's only 4 power forwards total. Not like 4 per team. One on average, 1 per team. So it's just insane. You've got Draymond, then Yabusele, and 2 other cheap guys. So
what a because of
the very strange. So Yabusele in play for me because of that. He had a down game the last game, hasn't been doing a ton, but definitely a punt play option for me. DeColo had a pretty nice game considering he went 0 for 5 from the field. He still put up, okay fantasy points with 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. But I kind of like Ertl better here, his backup at 4,300. And Ertl, kind of got in the groove against Italy, and they let him play big minutes. So he really was running that second unit, and I like that price tag. The rest of the bench, probably not going to go there. Like you said, TLC is risky. Fall is a punt play as a center if you want to pay way down, but probably won't go anywhere else. Ntilikina showed up, got a few minutes, but working himself back from injury, so not my favorite play there. So I agree. I'd like some exposure here to France, and I don't want to spend too much. Batum definitely the one plug and play for me.
I'm with you. Hey, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert up in the upper corner. We really appreciate that. We're heading closer to our next goal on YouTube for subscribers, and that would be wonderful if we could do that. We'll also be announcing today the July winner for our free weekly pass. Everything we've got here at Coach Talk for the person that won the drawing that we have once a month. If you listen to us on anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeart, you name it, and you leave a 5-star and a quick review, we have that drawing for that free week membership. So you've got plenty of time. It's only the 4th of the month. And you get a chance at that free week to try us out. So please 5-star it and give us a comment. We'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Any questions for us, just reach out on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can find the coach at JOESARVADI. You can find me at Language Olympic. As I mentioned, we'll have a golf podcast later today. Popular event this week on the PGA Tour, and we'll be back for the next Olympic slate as well. So do hit that alert button on YouTube, and we thank you for all your support. So, Coach, thank you again for jumping in with us here on the road. Hope the next couple of days go well for you. We're thinking about you and your family, and we hope everybody out there listening has benefited from this today. So good luck with your lineups tonight, and stick with us. We'll continue to roll through the Olympics here. Really enjoying this. Going to be some great battles here, starting in just after midnight. So get those lineups locked in, and don't forget the first tip is 12:15 in the morning. So on behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.